The interviews live from the Grotto without Hannah today. And my guest today is author, activist, artist, and first African American Rockette, Jennifer Jones. Jennifer, thanks for stopping by. And the first African American Rockette. I mean, just to bring up to be able to break barriers like that. How were you able to do that?
It all just started, first of all, with my love of dance and being on stage and wanting to walk out of the backstage door since I was a little girl. That is where the dream started. Then continuing that for 10 years later, learning the ropes of the business in New York City, how to audition, how to find the jobs. And I was actually looking for my big Broadway break. I was exposed to Broadway by my parents as a young child, and I just fell in love with The Wiz and Stephanie Mills and Mabel King. And I went to the Rockette audition because a friend of mine said I would make a perfect Rockette. I didn't know who the Rockettes were. I didn't know what precision dancing was. I didn't really know what Radio City Music Hall was, but I went to get better at auditioning.
It's interesting. And so did anyone think that they would have an African American? What time period was this for the Rockettes? You just know how iconic they are.
I auditioned for the Rockettes in 1987, which is the year that I was cast. Back in 1987, there wasn't the internet. We didn't have cell phones where we could just Google what the Rockettes do and what they are. And coming into this troupe, I did not even know the history of the Rockettes. The Rockettes were founded in 1925 by Russell Market, and his idea came off of the British Tiller Girls. And he thought if he could get a group of American women who could do complicated tap steps and high kicks, that he would just wow the American people. In 1925, Black performers were not allowed on stage with white performers, so it wasn't a different thought process about being segregated during that time period. But as we move through history, this is why we have these incredible dance companies like Dance Theater of Harlem and Alvin Ailey. But in 1987, under the backdrop of New York City, you would think that they would have hired a Black dancer by that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about who would check out the Rockettes, everyone. It was just, you're talking 1987. Okay, I was born in 1973, so I did not see the Rockettes, but I knew of the Rockettes at that time. And it just was such a major thing to not have a woman of color on stage at that point in time. Wow. And you think, once you were finally cast, you really saw that responsibility, didn't you?
Absolutely. Russell had passed down the line to one of his most favorite dancer, Violet Holmes. And so there was still an antiquated thought process about having an all-white chorus line because they thought that having one or two Black girls on the line would distract from the uniformity. And so that thought process was still there. There was still people in the organization who had that systemic racism thought process. But it was Hazel and Dukes from the NAACP who kept knocking at Radio City's door saying you are not an equal opportunity employer. And the New York Times writing articles year after year saying it's still a white Christmas that really encouraged them or forced them to diversify. And coming into that role, a lot of people may think, oh, now they have a Black woman on the line. But when you're in an institution like that since 1925, there is still groundwork that still needs to be broken to have a diverse and inclusive women on the line.
But at first you were just thinking, okay, I'm here. Then you saw the magnitude of what your role was. You're the Jackie Robinson of baseball, or just talk about just many of the people have broken that barrier and said that glass ceiling. And now you have that responsibility. How long did it take you to really figure out you do?
I was hired at 20 years old, and it would take me, my Rockette career, 15 years to really learn the ins and outs of the Rockettes and their history. And when I came on the line, women had danced with each other on the line for 25 or 30 years. So learning all of their sisterhood, all of their time together it would take my career to like actually learn the history, but it would take me longer to even know what groundbreaking role I did, because at 20 years old, there were people on the line who, especially this one woman who worked in Radio City PR. She pulled me aside right before my Super Bowl debut halftime show, and she told me that nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your story. You're old news and you're lucky to be here. And she worked in PR and I believed her. And I thought nobody cared. And not only did I take that into my professional career, I also took that weight into my personal life and situations I never should have been in, and not believing in myself and having the right to dance at Radio City, thinking that I was not talented enough. So it would really take me a very long time to know the magnitude of what I did.
After your Rockette career, did you continue in entertainment?
I went on to dance on Broadway, 42nd Street, The Revival, in which we won the Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical.
Wow. Well, congrats. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And what I love about that is that I left the Rockettes in 2002, and we performed for the Tony Awards in 2001, and it was at Radio City. We opened up for the show, and I got to dance at my home of 15 years as a Broadway performer and win the Tony. It was like a full circle moment.
That's fabulous. Oh my gosh. Wow. And because you always wanted to be on Broadway, you building your brand as a Rockette led to Broadway.
Yes, it did.
With no real like aspirations of being a Rockette, were there probably a lot of the Rockettes on the line that it was their dream to be just a Rockette?
There are a lot of women who, like you said, dream of becoming Rockettes, but there are a handful of ladies who just go to the audition to become better at auditioning, and they end up having careers as Rockettes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because the auditions help with what you would do off Broadway or Broadway, right?
Absolutely. The Rockette audition is one of the most hardest auditions that anyone could go through. I think especially now, they just celebrated their 100th year anniversary. From what I understand, they went from 3 different techniques to 5 different techniques, meaning they have to perform in jazz, ballet, tap, modern, contemporary. So there are different techniques that they have to go through, and it's much more rigorous. However, there is no more height restriction, and there's not a weight restriction anymore.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that either. So there's no height or weight. What was the height restriction at first?
It fluctuated throughout the years, but anywhere from 5'5.5" to 5'10.5".
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the Rockettes are still going on. But let's talk about your book really fast. The book, we told some of the stories, but writing the book, did you think you'd do that?
There was always a time that I wanted to put my Rockette journey down in black and white. I just thought it was a story that needed to be told. It needed to be documented in case any of the ladies on the line wanted to know what it was like for me or for dance history or Black history. It took me a very long time. I picked up the pen and paper numerous times, but the universe has a certain way of working. And there was just more in my life that I needed to share in the book. And that was, what was it like after dancing when I was a single mom and had 2 kids? And what about my journey with colorectal cancer? So there was more in my life that I needed to share. And Becoming Spectacular is one of my most prized books that I've written.
Well, one other question I have for you, Jennifer, before we get to this one question that my co-host says when he's able to make it, that he interviews all celebrities on, is ultimately, are you still performing? Are you involved?
I am not performing on stage, but I do a lot of speaking engagements. And I also have a children's book. So I visit elementary schools and encourage children to follow their dreams.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So here's the big question for you, Jennifer. What's the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
There's a lot. There's a lot. And that's a very good question. And I think that at different points in life, we have different things that are lessons that we need, and that's our growth process. But I think at this point in my life, the one lesson that I've learned is to speak loudly and proudly about my journey and about all of my platforms that I am so passionate about. Just to know that everyone has their own gift and footprint to put in this world. And I just wish everyone the ability to shine brightly and to follow their dreams and bring their gift out to the world.
All right. Fabulous. Best place people can purchase your book and learn more about you. And then before that, I have one other question after that. But where can they find info on you and stuff?
They can go to my website, which is rockettejen.com. They can follow me on Instagram, the official Jennifer Jones. And they can find my books anywhere books are sold. Barnes & Noble is a good place. And I also have a dancing Jen doll, which is just a tangible reminder for kids, something that they can hold on to always know to dream big. And they can find her at Walmart Marketplace.
Really? So that's got to be even more. Did you ever think you have your own doll?
Oh, okay. No, it was just an idea that I had that I just wanted to solidify in children that their thoughts become things, because I knew at such a young age that I wanted to dance on stage and walk out of a backstage door, that I wanted something for kids to hold on to and always to pursue their inspiration in life.
And also to be part of the Hollywood Museum. Wow.
I know.
Definitely. Wow. So what are your goals for the next 5 years? What do you want us to accomplish?
I have this thought process of writing a book for middle grade students. I have this want for them to follow their dreams, and even though challenges may come their way, to never give up. So I'd really like to tackle the middle-aged group. And I'd also love to see Becoming Spectacular come to a big screen and show what it was like to be a Rockette in the 1980s.
All right. Thanks again, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.